Scott Wetzel is not for everyone. For instance, sane people who can easily tell right from wrong are strongly urged to change the channel. Doctors Radio declared listening to Scott Wetzel can be hazardous to your health and can cause sickness, strokes, or wanting to take long walks on short piers. Feelings of agitation, dizziness, depression, frustration, and cold sweats are common when listening to Scott. You can have a bad reaction, such as confusion, redness in the face, teeth clenching, fist pounding, wanting to put a fork in your eye, and feeling the need to throw your radio out the window. Listeners have also reported increased swearing, trouble sleeping, and a strong desire to gamble. Truckers and drivers are urged to stay away. Learn from Jack from Arkansas. As for women, don't even think about it.
Oh no, my nipples clearly got erect.
You've been warned. Now, here's your host, Scott Wetzel.
And welcome into the Scott Wetzel Show right here on FanStream Sports on a Monday, July 27th. Yours truly sitting in for the next hour and a half or so. Taking a look at the world of sports. Plenty of things to get to after a long, long weekend. We got the Kansas City Chiefs in trouble again. Man, you talk about a black cloud covering a team. This is it. Baseball Hall of Good. Miami Marlins losing streak continues. Mad Max Scherzer returns tonight. We got the Scheffler, same old with Scottie. Kyle Shanahan mystery. LeBron makes it official today. Arizona Cardinals assigned their quarterback, and Buffalo's Bills Mafia beat the Elliott Ness, if you will. We'll get to all those stories, plus your tweets, your emails, and your YouTube chat. Follow me on YouTube on the Scott Wetzel Show on YouTube, as you're probably doing right now. If so, hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll have a little YouTube chat back and forth throughout the program. Yes, what's going on, LLs? How are you, LWs, loyal listeners, loyal watchers? How are you on this Monday? Beautiful day, although it does look a little overcast here in Long Island. Calling for rain over the next couple of days, so hopefully that does not come true. Hopefully the weathermen kind of live up to their always being wrong situation as they're calling for rain over the next couple of days. So a lot to get to today. We got the golf stuff going on as we got an unknown winning out of the blue. Some guy cashing another ticket at DraftKings, apparently. I always question those stories. How about the poor Miami Marlins? Talking about putting a black cloud, we put that on them for sure. The moment we started betting them to have our over second half team total, they haven't won since. They literally have not won since. 12 straight losses, including a blow and a 3-0 lead yesterday. We'll get to that. A whole bunch of football news, NFL news, including our lead story, if you will, breaking about an hour or so, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever, earlier today. More trouble with this Kansas City Chiefs team. It's either trouble on the field, off the field, in between. Now comes a story where the wife of Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy, he's in the news enough with his own issues about not getting a head coaching job and everything else, right? So his wife, not apparently, she was shot last night, apparently by her son, her biological son. It's one thing, maybe stepmother's mean and whatever, but no. So he was arrested, Elijah Zion Bieniemy, son of Eric and Mia, arrested by police, charged with malicious wounding, use of a firearm in the commission of a felony, and discharge of a firearm inside a dwelling. I don't know, where's attempted murder? She was apparently shot 3 times from what I was reading, and she's in the hospital in serious condition. I mean, who shoots their mother? I'm a father, but if you told me one parent was going to get shot, more than likely it's the dad. I hate to say that, right? But the dad's the bad guy. He's the disciplinarian. He's the guy that's never at home. He's the guy that's got other issues. He's at work. He's doing this. A mama's boy. You don't even have to be a mama's boy. The mother generally is always in the good graces, right? Who shoots his mother several times, for goodness sakes? And the dude's 27 years old. He's not like a kid. He's not some 16, 17-year-old kid. I mean, you would think by he would know better. I'll bet you $1 to a $10. It's drugs are involved somewhere along the line. I mean, I hate to say it, I really do, without knowing for sure. But if there was a bet on FanDuel, DraftKings, wherever, drugs involved, absolutely. I'll lay 10-1 on that. I mean, man, I hope the woman survives, obviously. But it's like one goofy story after another with this Kansas City team. I mean, this is bad enough. Again, hopefully she recovers. And I don't know how that affects, Eric. Will he leave the team? Be with his wife bedside? I mean, I would think so, but who knows, right? But it's just every single day there's another story, or month anyway, with this Kansas City team. You make a list of the issues that they have had. Rashee Rice 2 years ago, right? Gets into the car accident, pleads guilty to third-degree felony charges, nearly kills somebody. You got the defensive backs coach earlier this year, Dave Merritt, arrested on suspicion of domestic battery. They did drop the charges, but still, he gets arrested. You got all the Kareem Hunt stuff. You remember that from way back when, 2018. Remember Frank Clark getting in trouble as well, possession of a concealed firearm. I forgot about this one, Isaiah Buggs. I don't remember this one at all. 2024, never actually played for them, but was in their practices. Booked for domestic violence, burglary charges down out of Alabama. Oh, that's right. That was the one down in Alabama. You know what? Now I do remember that one. For whatever reason, the Alabama kind of kicked in. Charged with 2 counts of secondary animal cruelty. Remember, we kept the dogs, basically now mature, cherished. So it's just like one thing. You got the poor Javon Belcher story. Remember that in 2012 when he killed his girlfriend, then killed himself in the Chiefs parking lot. You got the mass shooting at the parade where someone got killed in the 2024 Super Bowl parade. You got Andy Reid's son, the druggie that he was, committing suicide or overdosing. Pick one, but he died. How about the fans even? Remember the fans in 2024 that were sitting in the backyard, freezing temperatures, watching the Chiefs game? Or I guess they were inside, but then they go outside and then they freeze to death because the one guy gave them a drug that knocked them out by accident. I mean, there's just like one thing after another. I'm sure I'm forgetting a few more. With Andy Reid, I remember the Super Bowl. I remember the 3 people freezing to death. I remember Belcher. I didn't realize that was 2012. That was a little while ago, but I remember that certainly. Can't forget Kareem Hunt when you see that video of him beating his girlfriend up there in the hotel. Frank Clark stuff I remember. Isaiah Buggs I do now, but that was the dog thing. Rashee Rice, obviously you can remember that. I mean, it is amazing that they've been able to win. What, they have 3 Super Bowls? I mean, it really, really is, you talk about a black cloud and issues and different things off the field. They're like the Teflon Don of the NFL. No matter what you throw at them, no matter what issues, no matter how good the player is, somehow or another, Kareem Hunt was a very, very good player. Rashee Rice, their best wide receiver. They've able to overcome this stuff somehow or another. And now you got the poor wife of Eric Bieniemy, and you have that issue. That's not necessarily legal issue as far as him not getting a head coaching job, but all the speculation on why he doesn't get a head coaching job and everything else. Man, you just, like I said, it is amazing that they've been able to overcome all this stuff. It's just one issue, whether it's players, whether it's coaches, whether it's coaches' sons, whether it's fans, freezing to death, being shot, getting in car accident. They've covered the gamut. I mean, I don't know what else they could do. Next thing you know, we'll find out someone's robbing a bank or something like that. I mean, it is crazy. You would expect this out of a team that's, 3-14 every single year, not a Super Bowl contender every single year. So I turned on, like I said, I turned on the computer and I see how, Bieniemy's wife was shot. I'm like, holy fudge. Just one more thing. And she was in Virginia. He was in Missouri because, he used to be offensive coordinator with Washington last year. And then they fired him or didn't bring him back with the new regime. In essence, fired, right? So he goes back to Kansas City. So he was in KC. So he clearly had nothing to do with this. But it's just wild. It's just so weird how this team just, before you turn around, there's another story coming out. So, and this one obviously is a sad story. Who knows how it's going to be resolved. But, yeah, what you talk about? Just a jinxed. You can't say jinxed because they've won Super Bowls, but I don't know what it is. But Andy Reid, he's either a genius or a dope. You make the call. Genius in that he's been able to keep this team together, or a dope in that he's allowing all these things to happen. Not that it's his fault. A lot of these things, but just crazy. More news. Talking about crazy, we'll keep it NFL before we get to some of the other things. First of all, Washington fired their tight ends coach today, Ben Steele, 47-year-old dude. been in the league a long time, right? Tight ends coach, decent job. You're in the NFL. What could go wrong? He decides he's apparently going to drive drunk, refuses to take a breathalyzer test. That's an automatic, you're guilty. Amazing how you're innocent until proven guilty on paper, but in reality, it's like, no. So he was found intoxicated supposedly back in early June. Did an investigation. I don't know why it's taken him over a month for him to get fired, but he's out the door. I mean, talk about just throwing your life away. Not that he can't recover from this, but gee, is it so hard to pick up a phone and call Uber, call a taxi, walk, ask a buddy? I mean, wow. I always am amazed. When you're younger, okay, you do some stupid things, right? We've all probably been a little buzzed, we'll say, driving, right? Shouldn't do it, but, when you're 17, 18, 19, 20, whatever, you do some stupid things. And I know that there are times where you feel like you're safe, and in reality, you'd probably still fail a drug breathalyzer test, but you still think you could drive. So I get that. But, when you're 47 and you're a coach in the NFL and you got so much to lose, I just don't understand picking up the phone and calling a taxi or something. Or like I said, calling a buddy, if that's the case. I'm going to risk that. He has to know he's drinking, and he probably knows he was bombed since he failed, he didn't decide not to take the breathalyzer test. So it can't even be, well, I'm a little tipsy, but I feel good. Just stupid. Really just dopey. Not necessarily speaking of dopey. I actually like Jacoby Brissett, but I saw Arizona signed him to a 1-year contract. He was set to make $2 million this year, and he was the starter for the most part last year. They weren't any good, but he is the starter again this year. They got rid of Kyler Murray, so this is kind of the transition year. But I get it. Listen, I'm not going to be a starting quarterback, not with our god awful offensive line, right? To make $2 million a year, which is basically what he was set to make this year. He probably asked for 25, 30, and Arizona said no. So they met in the middle, which we figured they would. He made $15 million with incentives to make over $20 million. That's probably a fair, it's only a 1-year deal. They didn't tack on any more years. I was thinking about this, and I brought this up on the podcast. There really are, I'll say only, and normally you could come up with a few more, but I think there are really only 3 teams that don't have any direction quarterback-wise and really would prefer to lose. You can't go into a season like that because that'll just turn fans off, turn the players off, and it'll be just disaster. But if everything was said and done, would you rather be 8-9, 9-8, or 3-14? The 3 teams, I think, really take them behind the back door and secretly say, pick one, and they would say 3-14. New York Jets, right? They're not going anywhere with Geno Smith. They just talk about legal issues and problems off the field, right? They're not going anywhere with him. They know that. They brought him back, goodwill. They had to put someone back there. Their quarterback room is god-awful, maybe the worst in the NFL. And I'm actually a Geno fan. But if you said we could go 9-8 or 3-14, what would 9-8 prove? Well, what would that do? You're going to bring Geno back again last year of his contract? You're going to sign him to a $30 million contract? Geno Smith, he's got to be close to 35 at this point. No, he's just he's a barrier. They're one. My Dolphins are another. Now, them to a lesser extent, because now I know he sucks. You know he sucks. The whole world knows that our starting quarterback sucks. But, that said, I think they think he's pretty good. I don't know why. But in reality, we need Malik Willis. We don't need Malik Willis to go 9-8. And they're not going to go 9-8, not with their schedule. Maybe they get 5-6 wins, maybe. But realistically, I think they got 2 or 3 wins written all over them. I really do. So that's another team that's just buying time, get a high draft choice next year, and go get ourselves a top 5 quarterback, right? And then the last team, Jets 1, Dolphins 2. Who's the other one that I thought was kind of in no man's land? Who's the other one? In Arizona. Yeah, and Arizona. So those are the third one. Now, they're the teams that don't have great quarterbacks, or like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, on borrowed time with Aaron Rodgers. But if you told Pittsburgh, do you want to be 3-14, or do you want to be 9-8 and maybe get into the playoffs? They're thinking they're going to get into the playoffs. So they're content with that. I don't like either Kyler Murray or what's his face down in Minnesota, but I think they're content with their, they would much rather be 9-8 with JJ McCarthy. I don't know about Kyler Murray, but they would much, so theirs, kind of settled in. Saints seemingly have their quarterback. Carolina seemingly, after entering last year, not knowing for sure, has their quarterback. Atlanta would like to think they have their quarterback, and whether it's Tua or whoever is on that roster. So I really think it's just the three. I think it's just Dolphins, Jets, and and Arizona Cardinals heading into this season. Now, at the end of the year, Minnesota could say both your guys suck. Atlanta could say both of our guys suck, and Michael Penix as well. Giants, Jackson Dart could get a broken leg, and Giants be done with him. So that there are a few more that you could tack on, but for start the season, that's the case. So good for Arizona. Arizona's got a lot of talent. I mean, they got a lot of big name players on that team. They just stink for what And I actually, like I said, I like Jacoby Brissett. Wouldn't make him my starting quarterback, but he's bounced around the league. Good backup, good solid backup quarterback who's being put in a spot that really probably shouldn't be put in, and that's the starter. The other football news from the NFL this weekend, which I don't quite understand. 49ers announce or reveal that head coach Kyle Shanahan was in a car accident last month. Serious enough, concussion, everything else in that, a month plus later, he's still not, he's able to walk around and stuff. They got to go through this concussion protocol, even as a head coach. So he's still, recovering. So this was a serious, not a fender bender. This was a serious injury, right? And I got two major issues. First one is, where are all the so-called insiders? All the Adam Schefters, and I'll just throw his name out there, but all of them, right? You're a supposed insider. An NFL head coach gets into a car accident, nearly kills himself, literally. Who knows how long he was in the hospital, but I'm guessing a solid 3, 4, 5 days, if not a week. And you don't hear a peep about that? Nobody knows about that? You're an NFL insider. You supposedly have all these connections with all these teams. And there's not one connection that says, hey, by the way, you hear about Kyle Shanahan, head coach of the Niners, obviously, in the hospital, nearly killed himself. Nobody has that. These guys are a joke. I've been saying this for years. The LLs know this. These guys know squat. They know absolutely nothing. Nothing that the teams and the agents don't feed them. The day one of these clowns actually breaks a story that they wanted to keep under wraps will be the first day in eons. I mean, if I was one of those guys, I would be so embarrassed. I don't know how you look yourself in the mirror without either crying or laughing. Crying because you suck at your job, and laugh because, I'm getting paid 6 figures to be a so-called NFL insider. And you know what? I don't know squat. I don't know more than, Billy Bob did Topeka High. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's an NFL coach, not an assistant coach. An NFL head coach and not a fender bender nearly kills himself. And we don't know about it for an entire month. Who's covering the 49ers? Don't you check in every once in a while? Don't you have any connections at all? If you're actually a beat reporter for the San Francisco 49ers and you don't have any connections that would tell you, hey, you may want to look into this. You may want to give Kyle a call. How come? Just give him a call. Talk about what? The weather. Really? The weather? How come? Just to say hello. You don't have one of those guys? Embarrassing. But now, they got criticized for that. And now the story is that some of these guys did know, and they just didn't report it. Because the San Francisco 49ers, for whatever reason, I don't know why, did they really think they were going to be able to keep this thing under wraps completely? I don't know if he got a DWI. The whole thing is all like, so quiet, right? But supposedly some of these guys were asked not to report it, and they didn't. And you know what? I'll deal with your incompetence. I'll deal with you not really having any contacts, because I know that's really the case. I get it. If the agent doesn't call, if the team doesn't call, if their message isn't put out there, you're not finding it. I'm not happy about that, but that is what it is. If some of these guys actually knew and didn't reveal his story, because the team, for whatever reason, didn't want it out there, that's pretty weak. If you have, who's the dog wagging the tail or the tail wagging the dog here? I mean, you're the reporter. You're supposed to be independent of everything. And I get it. You don't want to alienate your contacts. I understand all that. But there are certain stories. This is a backup or, offensive lineman. All right. But you can't sit on a story. If they actually knew that Shanahan was in an accident, and I don't believe it. I really don't. I don't think, man, I don't want to believe it. Let's put it that way. I can't believe that these guys would sit on this story. And for what purpose? Like if you told the Niners, okay, we found out about this and we want to work with you here. So why would you want to sit on this? Do you not think it's going to get out? Are you going to bury this and never reveal this? No, we'll reveal it in a month or so. Well, why don't we just reveal it now then? What's different a month from now? If anything, now we're closer to the NFL season where people are paying more attention. You do it in June when you got the NBA playoffs going on, hockey playoffs going on, World Cup going on. This thing could get buried under the table like, hey, little fender bender, no big deal. Yeah, little accident, but he's fine, no big deal. You could have easily done that. Now there's nothing going on. So if they really sat on this story that long and knew it, man, that's disgraceful. That's just awful. You just can't do that. Like I said, same thing. I don't know how you look yourself in the mirror and say, okay, I got this story, and it may not pertain to football. It may have nothing to do with football. I hear people saying, but it doesn't matter. It's an NFL head coach. There are a lot of things off the field that we report about. He's going to be under, depending on who caused the accident and everything else. The NFL is going to look at this, and he could get suspended, just like Rashee Rice did, and just like all the others do when they do things off the field. So you may not say it belongs, in the football world, but it does, when the football oversteps its boundaries, as they always do. And I don't really like that, but that's a different story. I think football should just stay football, do whatever you want to do. You want to get a DWI, you want to get an accident, you want to kill yourself, it's no, bearing on the football team. But that's, there's got to be a lot more to this story. There just has to be. And if the story is they sat on it for a month, then who's to say they're really going to reveal the true story? Let's just say he had a DWI, right? Don't know that at all. But let's just say, there's got to be a reason why you'd want to bury this thing. It just can't be because we don't want people to know our coach got in a car accident. Why not? And if it's not his fault, if he wasn't drunk, he wasn't, with a hooker, wasn't with a girlfriend. I don't know if he's married or not. I think he is. So what? It's not Chappaquiddick, is it? I don't think it's, that all over again. So do we have faith that the media would actually tell us at this point? I don't. I really don't. Not again if they actually sat on this story. But I can't believe. I'd rather think they were incompetent. I really would. As bad as that is, I'd rather think that they're just bad at their job than be willing to bury a story. So I don't know if we'll ever find out. Somewhere along the line, we probably will. Don't know what happened with North Carolina, Jim, Michael Lombardi. Remember the old Patriot executive, Bill Belichick, best buddy, joined Belichick down in North Carolina. He's been put on administrative leave effective immediately. A statement from UNC read today. Standard procedure with the personnel matter, leadership, staff, and student athletes are prohibited from addressing this topic further and has no reflection on the merits of the case. So basically, we're not going to tell you anything. So what did he do? Four-Letter Network is reporting that a former UNC front office employee, I don't know if it's male or female, filed a human resources complaint for which there's a pending investigation. So read into that as you will. Well, is it a female and he was putting the moves on her and she didn't like it? They got rid of her and now she's complaining. Is it a guy he was demanding too much from? He didn't like it, so he got rid of him and he's complaining. Is it who knows nowadays? Well, it can be almost anything. But the fact that he was asked to leave, administrative leave, still getting paid, paid administrative leave. But, a lot of these things you just, okay, we're going to investigate, like the Michigan program, right? How long do they take to investigate it? And Ward Manuel got to keep his job during the investigation, AD. So the fact that he's being pushed aside, maybe that's just how they do things in North Carolina, but if there's smoke, there's fire. I don't think if someone makes an accusation that they're going to say, okay, you're going to go on, paid leave. They have to do some, digging in the story and see if it's, valid to a certain extent. So that's boy, that Belichick thing in North Carolina, I don't know if that's ever going to get cleared up. Whether it was the girlfriend that he still has, to his credit, he still has her. Whether it's his buddy Lombardi now getting in trouble, whether it's the team having 4 or 5 wins, whatever it was last year, that had disaster written all over it. That's one of those situations where you could have easily predicted this is not going to work, right? This just is not going to work. So we'll see what happens, with that. Back to one last note on football with the NFL. So 2 things, really. Anyway, Mahomes says he's cleared to practice back to Kansas City to open up training camp. That's good news off his torn ACL and LCL back in December. So I don't know how stringent that is. I don't know if he's full go. He's not taking contact. That's for darn sure. But that's a good sign that looks like he's going to be ready for opening day, which again is not until September 13th. I mean, we got a long ways to go before we start the 2026-27 football season. Oops, I think we lost connection here. But why don't we take a quick little break anyway? So we're ready.
Just your camera, Scott. Yeah, it's your camera again.
It's camera. All right, so we'll take a little break. We got to get a break in here anyway, Tim. So quick little break, and then plenty more to get to right here on a Monday afternoon on the Scott Wetzel Show, Fan Street Sports.
Hi, golfers. IndyCar Tim here. I want to talk to you a little bit about Golf Central Magazine. It's not just a golf magazine. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Head over to golfcentralmag.com and check out the latest issue. Some of the regular features in Golf Central Magazine: the Golf Bachelorette of the Month, the Golf Bachelor of the Month, the Golf Cart Girl of the Month, Golf History, Grip It and Sip It. So head over to golfcentralmag.com. It's free. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Golf Central Magazine at golfcentralmag.com. We'll see you there.
Hey folks, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center, a very different kind of approach to primary care. Personalized preventative medicine, not a one-pill-fits-all mentality. Christopher Lugo and his experienced medical staff are proactive in looking at issues before they become a problem, encouraging a healthy lifestyle with proper diet, supplements, and exercise to optimize your active lifestyle. Rather than the impersonal, rushed approach, you will be the only patient and will have our full attention. That's new. Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. Bay Area Modern Medical Centers are experts in anti-aging regenerative medicine that optimizes your body's performance in many areas. So call for an appointment to get started on a journey back to full health and a happy life with a new, modern way of healthcare. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com.
Today's show is brought to you by Tomstown, a premier craft distillery based in Kansas City, Missouri. Discover their award-winning lineup, including double oaked bourbon, botanical gin, and double grain vodka, named the best craft vodka by the readers of USA Today. Available for online delivery in 40 states. Visit toms-town.com or their Kansas City distillery to explore more. Elevate your game with Tomstown, where history meets innovation. Please enjoy responsibly.
Hello, folks. Let's talk a little bit about turf life. What is turf life? It's pretty much if your life involves turf in any way, shape, or form, you live the turf life. Go ahead and brand yourself with the turf life. Maybe a back window decal, maybe a hat. You know where you can get those kinds of things to showcase that your life revolves around sports and or anything that involves sports. If it's a sports business or sports education or just your enjoyment of the outdoors, head over to turflifeclub.com. Become a turf head. Join the club today. You can do that by going to that said website that I just told you to go to. You can snag your window decal like I was talking about, or any of your other turf life accessories. Show everybody that you live the turf life, and we'll see you there over there at that turflifeclub.com.
Although it may seem tempting to go without healthcare insurance, the financial risk far outweighs the gain you may experience. For example, did you know if you simply broke your leg, it could cost you nearly $7,500? Put on top of that a hospital stay, you could be looking at $10,000 to $15,000. Ensuring that you don't go uncovered is so important, as according to CNBC, high medical bills are the highest contributing factor to why Americans end up taking money out of their retirement savings, or worse, find themselves filing bankruptcy. So go to don'tgouncovered.com or call 800-669-1505. Now, depending on your income, you can get plans for zero premium. Our experts will guide you through the process effortlessly. They will shop many plans and find the one that's right for you. I called and I have full health coverage through Florida Blue for zero monthly premium. It's a free call. So why go uncovered? It's a huge risk. Go to don'tgouncovered.com or call 800-669-1505. That's 800-669-1505.
Orion Golf Management Solutions. Orion Management Solutions has tailored its service packages just like it tailors its approach to customers. Some owners need more supervision, while others need periodic assessment of their short-term and long-term strategies and programs. Orion can be called in to develop a business plan with the existing staff, or we can assist with the daily management of a facility or event. Either way, we make sure the client is satisfied and understands the direction the facility needs to go in order to achieve the owner's goals. Orion Management Solutions can help with owner assistance service solutions, daily course management, business plan development, monthly operations, or as-needed consulting services. Whatever your need, Orion Golf Management Solutions can help. Check out oriongolf.com.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back. It is the Scott Wetzel Show on FanStreamSports.com, FanStreamSports.com. Hit that like, subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube with our Scott Wetzel Show YouTube channel. So let's grab a couple of YouTube chats while we're at it, right? Michael, hey, Scotty. All right, short and sweet. Hey, Mike, what's going on? One of our LLs. Andy writes in, something stinks with that Chiefs team. They have almost as many off-the-field issues as Georgia. You're right about that. In fact, I read last week, one of the days last week, I was going to mention that, about how Georgia had another guy getting involved in some traffic situation, whether it was speeding or DUI or something goofy. I forget exactly what it was, but you're right. Both these teams are two peas in a pod, I'll tell you that. Our buddy, the Nut Cassie back. 0926, right? Head coach doesn't have the best track record as a parent. No, Andy Reid does not. You're right about that. Google his son's drugs. One guy, like I said, committing suicide or, drug overdose. So you pick your poison, whichever one it actually was. But no, he's not exactly, Mr. Dad. Your father knows best. That is for sure. Paulie B, you're right. I forgot about this one. Good job. Wasn't a Chiefs, not only a Chiefs fan, but a super fan robbing banks to pay for playoff tickets? Wasn't it the team mascot that didn't he do something? I think it was actually the team mascot that was robbing the banks.
He wasn't an official team mascot. He was just a super fan that wore that wore the whatever. Wolf or whatever it was.
Right. That stuff. So, I mean, again, there's probably two or three that we're forgetting about, but I forgot about the bank robbery. Yeah. The poor three kids who froze to death. I mean, just like bizarre, not just your typical NFL, this guy got arrested for drugs or this or beating up his girlfriend, not to minimize that, but the typical NFL arrest. Like, these are like freaky weird. People get shot at the victory parade. The guy's freezing to death, robbing banks. I mean, all these quirky, weird, just nutso things. So, Timmy up in Pittsburgh, one of our LLs, or is it New Hampshire? One of the others. Writes in, hold on, I got to read it here. National reporters do not step foot into a facility. Their only info comes from the team reps and agents. They're propaganda tools. Yes. That's what we've been saying on the podcast, and Timmy's part of the podcast. Yep, they don't know nothing. Really, the days of having this secretary on the side, you give her an extra candy or Valentine's Day or some roses or whatever, and she's going to give you some information because she knows everything, right? Or the ball boy, or pick some guy in the background and that's my source, right? No, those days are long, long, long gone. It's whatever the team wants. That's the the image they want to put out. And the team is putting out this. The agents are putting out that. Well, that's where they get I would say literally 85 to 90% of their information. No one's got any exclusives or any of that stuff. If it happens, it is so rare. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. So we got the Miami stuff. We got the Shanahan stuff. The last one with the football stuff is Jerry Jeudy, which brings up a bigger topic, really. So there was a TikTok video out there that seemingly had Jerry Jeudy saying he wanted Deshaun Watson to be the Browns starting quarterback. He's a Browns wide receiver, right? Over Shedeur Sanders and whoever else they have there. So, but then they clipped the video. I didn't see it, but from what I understand, they had a picture of Jeudy, and then he's holding up 4 fingers. Deshaun Watson wears number 4, meaning he wants Watson. But in reality, they kind of did that phony, right? So he says, no, it's not. I don't want that. Whoever they pick, and I got no business with that whatsoever, which is probably good for the Browns and for Jerry Jeudy. But it does bring up a bigger question. And we've touched about this before. I don't get what the Cleveland Browns are doing. I really don't. There's no best case scenario. There really isn't. Now, Watson is in the last year of his contract, guaranteed. All the money is now, this is it, the last year, right? After this year, they're not necessarily done with him because they got about $85 million worth of cap stuff that they still have to spread out, either in a 1-year hit next year or spread it out over the next 3-4 years. So they're not completely done with him, but as far as paying him and then to put him on the roster, they're done. So what? So why would they consider starting him? I mean, you don't want to cut him now because the cap hit this year would be over $125 million. So I get, as much as I'd like to be rid of the stench, and I'm a Watson guy, or at least was, you can't take $127 million cap hit. You just can't do that, right? So we got to have him on our team one more year. I sit him at the end of the bench and say, you know what, Sean, you don't have to go to practice. You really don't. You don't have to come to practice. You don't have to do anything because we're not going to have you on our team next year. And we don't want any part of you this year. If, our guys stink, Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, if they stink, then we're going to get a top 5 pick and start all over again next year. There is no future for you here. Yeah, but I can win 8, 9, 10 games. I can maybe even get us into the playoffs, Mr. Cleveland Brown. So what? What would the Browns do? Best case playing scenario, Deshaun Watson goes back to being the old Deshaun Watson, right? The Pro Bowler with the Houston Texans. He's in the last year of his contract. You've given this dude $230 million on top of the contract he had left over from Houston. You've given him close to $300 million for basically nothing. Are you really going to run the risk of this guy being halfway decent? Because if you re-sign him, you're going to have to sign him. The going rate is $35, $45 million. You really want to go down a 4-year contract? Do you really, Browns fans, want to go down that road again with this guy? Haven't you had it up to here with him, with all his antics and all the bad play and all the issues? I don't know why Cleveland would even pretend, unless they don't want to tell Sanders, but they got Dylan Gabriel. It could be a Sanders-Dylan Gabriel, competition. I was going to say, unless you want to have him have some kind of competition. But as I say that, you could have Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur, square it off. So we're not just handing the football to Sanders, who I think should get the starting nod. I just wouldn't play him. I wouldn't play him. I wouldn't want to run the risk of him getting hurt. Not that it matters because, again, his contract is up. But like I said, what's going to happen if he goes 10-7? What's going to happen if they make the playoffs? Again, do you really want to go down that road again and have to give him that kind of money? Because I don't doubt there'll be some dopey team. Let's say he throws for 25, 30 touchdowns, 3,500 yards. Browns go 10-7, back to respectability, and the Browns say, we don't want to deal with you anymore. unless you want to sign for like 20, 25 million. But I guarantee you, whether it's the Jets, whether it's the Dolphins, whether it's, Arizona, whether it's some other team, maybe the Indianapolis Colts, who knows? There'll be some team that'll give him $40 million. The Browns would not be able to re-sign him for $25 million if he does well. And if he doesn't do well, then why would you want to re-sign him anyway? So there is no upside to starting Deshaun Watson. Zero upside. So, and not to mention, he's going to, set the team back if he's the starter and doesn't do well. And then you're going to throw, Shedeur Sanders or Gillen Gabriel into the wolves. You go 1-5 football team. Good luck, So I don't get that. I really, maybe I don't doubt he's better. It's like a lot of these competitions. Is Kirk Cousins going to look better with the Raiders, than their first overall draft trade? Yeah, of course he's going to look better. Of course, if you just go by that. But, how much better does he have to be? How much better does Deshaun Watson have to be? And really, how bad does Sanders have to be or Gabriel to not get a shot first love? So kind of weird for me. I would not start Sanders, or I would not start Watson at all. Not at all. Baseball Hall of Fame this weekend. I'm not one of those guys that thinks there should be 50 people in the Hall of Fame. I said this on the podcast today, and I asked a lot of people this. How many people do you think are in the Hall of Fame? How many players? Throw out the umpires and the managers and owners and all that other stuff, right? How many players do you think? Most people will say anywhere from 500 to 1,000, right? There's really only about 200 players in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Probably shouldn't be much more than 100, 150, but there's not that many players in the Baseball Hall of Fame. So I'm not one that generally says, no, keep them out. It's only got to be the top 50 players. I'm not. But that said, I don't think any of the three guys that got in yesterday, it's really become the Hall of Good. It really, I know a lot of people have said that. There's no shame in being a good baseball player. There really isn't. Nice careers. You were a good player. You played almost 20 seasons, these guys. Made a lot of money. Won some World Series. But you weren't great. You were never great. You got to be great to be in the Hall of Fame. And I don't think any of these three guys that got in yesterday were ever great. I have less of an argument with Jeff Kent. I'll start with Carlos Beltran. The numbers on Beltran, they're good. Right? They're good. But we minimize good. Good is good, but it's not great. It's a B. You don't get into the Hall of Fame with a B. You don't get into the honor roll with Bs. You need A's. So if you look at his numbers, tell me what jumps out at you to be a Hall of Famer. There's generally three main categories for a player, right? Four actually. Hits, home runs, RBIs, batting average. And to be considered in my world, you have to have at least two. And really to be in, you need at least three. You don't necessarily need all four, but you need three out of the four, right? Batting average, Beltran, 279. So what? There's 50,000 guys bat 279. Home runs, 435. Decent amount, but not when you consider he played 20 years. He was a compiler. He only had 40 home runs one time. He only had 30 home runs. We'll count the 41, 2, 3, 4 times. Everything else is in right around that 20 to 25 range. But when you play 20 years, you're going to accumulate the numbers. But he never had, he wasn't really a home run guy. Stolen bases, not bad, or stolen bases, not bad, 312. So I give him credit for that. He was a good, balanced player. Good, real good player. Hits, didn't have 3,000 hits, 2,700 hits, which is a good amount. But, 3,000 is the benchmark for hits. 500 is the benchmark for home runs. He does have 1,587 RBIs. So about 1,500 is the benchmark for RBIs. And he had 100 RBIs a number of times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. and 97 one other time, and 93 one other time. So he's got the RBIs. He has one category, but that's it. He's got one out of the four. And stolen bases, if you want to say 300 stolen bases, that's a pretty good amount. You know, he was a pretty good base stealer the first half of his career. So I'll give you a little extra edge, but that Hall of Famer, at no time, and I remember him well, at no time did I ever say I'm watching a Hall of Famer with Carlos Beltran. Never. And that's when you kind of know, are you a compiler or are you really a great baseball player? He only really had 1, 2, maybe 3 monster years. And don't forget he played in the steroid era. And don't forget he had the Houston Astros scandal. So how they decided to put this dude in the Hall of Fame is beyond me. And speaking of the scandal, Met fans, listen to what he had to say yesterday.
About the New York Mets. When people ask me about why I shoot this cap, I have to say this, guys. It's simple. Every organization shaped your career. New York shaped my life. It was here where I experienced my greatest success and some of my greatest challenges. Playing for the Mets made me a better man and a better leader. Many of the most meaningful relationships that I was able to build in my career, I did it wearing a Mets uniform. So the Mets cap, what represents to me is growth, and it represents a place where I became the best version of myself.
Interesting. So the New York Mets years were the years where Carlos Beltran became Carlos Beltran, in essence, his own words, right? Just take note of that, Mets, because he's obviously a cheater. He was obviously one of the main, maybe not the main, but one of the absolute main guys in the Houston Astros cheating scandal. We all know the Mets have their own issues with steroids with their ball boy and their laundry attendant. So Carlos Beltran became a cheater thanks to the New York Mets. That's basically what he said yesterday. I don't know if I would be too proud, Met fans. And the Mets don't even like this dude anyway. They really don't. You ask Met fans, what do they think of Carlos Beltran? He stood there holding the bat, called strike three against the St. Louis Cardinals, and they lost the NLCS, didn't get a chance to go to the World Series. That's what they think of Carlos Beltran. He had some good years there. He did. But he'll never outlive taking that cold strike fastball right down the middle, right down the stinking middle. Then we got Andrew Jones. This is probably even the bigger problem I have. I suppose I'll live with Kent, and I suppose I'll live with Beltran. How is Andrew Jones in the Hall of Fame? I mean, come on. The guy was a lifetime 254 hitter. He only had 1,933 hits. Didn't even have 2,000. Forget about 3,000. Didn't even have 2,000 hits. Had the almost 1,300 RBIs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of 100 RBIs. That's not too bad. But over the 17-year period, it's not exactly great, but okay. And then home runs, he had 434, which again on the surface not too bad. But he only had 2 years of 40 home runs or more. And again, he played in the steroid era. So he doesn't have the hits, doesn't have the home runs in my world, doesn't have the batting average. And again, maybe I'll give you RBIs. And he had, how many stolen bases? 152 stolen bases, but all those came in the first 5 years. And then after that, he went from 11 to 8, 4, 6, 5, 4, 5. So he only stole bases in the beginning. So he was kind of a betweener. And yeah, he was great defensively. I'll give you that, but he was no better than anybody else. I don't put any credence into player awards because people just write down, oh yeah, Andrew Jones, he's playing this year. All right, he's going to be the Golden Glove. Yeah, but he was awful. It's Andrew Jones. Whatever. Who cares? They don't do too much research into this stuff. They really don't. So forget about I'm not putting anybody in the Hall of Fame outside of a shortstop or catcher. Based on their defense, not doing it. He plays an offensive position, center field. You got to put up monster number. 254 batting average, only 400 or so home runs, less than 2,000 hits, and he's in the Hall of Fame? Come on. That's brutal. That's not right. That really isn't. At least with Jeff Kent, and you may not like him for whatever reason, but here's why I like him. He's one of the few guys that stood up to Barry Bonds. Remember the fight they got in the dugout, right? Teammates. He'll always be okay in my book. You stand up to Bonds and not like Bonds and not get along with him, you're okay in my book. So maybe I'm a little skewed. But he played second base, not a power position at all. Hit 290, not too bad. Had 1,500 RBIs. That's more than Andrew Jones. He had 100 RBIs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. 377 home runs. Not a lot, but for a second baseman, he's got to be top 5, I would think. And then almost 2,500 hits, 2,461 hits. So a decent amount. Like I said, I wouldn't put him in, but I can live with him. Out of those 3, I can live with him because of that batting average, because of the RBIs. Did get the bat in front of Bonds in his San Francisco days, which obviously helps. He was an MVP one year as well, so it's not just kind of runner up. But I don't think really in my world I wouldn't put world, and you want to honor them because they were really good players, played a long time in the league. Kent played 17 years. Maybe have a secondary, or a separate wing in the Hall of Fame where these guys came close, really good players. We want to acknowledge them, but just not a plaque. Maybe that's what they should do. And maybe that, and this way could you have a ceremony? It'd be kind of weird saying, hey, you're not a Hall of Famer, but we like you. We're going to put your busts. Well, you wouldn't have a bust. We're going to put something of you in our separate wing. I think you could do that. I think people could live with that. So maybe that's what they need. But otherwise, they're just not Hall of Famer. Come on. Again, I'm not one that says we shouldn't have anybody in the Hall of Fame. And I know they got to have something every single year. I get that. But really, do they? If you don't have somebody, make some gimmick up. You know what? This was a great, anniversary. We're going to have the class of 1980 come back. And we're going to honor them again and just go over some of their highlights. Just something. Come up with something. It's not that difficult. But really, it's not. Those guys aren't Hall of Famers. They really are, especially those other 2. So LeBron made it official. We can't do a show without LeBron, right? I don't know when the 15 minutes of fame will die down with LeBron. We had the guy getting thrown in the air by the Bison. We had the guy getting stuck in the toilet. Those 15 minutes of fame have ended soon. LeBron's is still going. This is how they do it, though. They're not stupid. They leak the news, right? You get 1 day of publicity. They confirm the news. You get a 2nd day of publicity. And then they make the official announcement of the news. You get a 3rd day of publicity. And that's what, the 76ers and LeBron have done. They announced today the 2-year deal is official, league minimum, $8 million. And he is the Philadelphia 76er officially today. 4-Letter Network was reporting that he plans on living in New York City while playing for the 76ers. And he's going to commute, apparently, via helicopter. Now, I'm not sure where in New York City, but I guess, one of the high rises, and you could probably get helicopters off those. People do that when they work down on Wall Street. But all we ever hear about with LeBron is about how he likes to get to these games 5 hours, 4 hours before a game and has his ritual and all the warm-ups and stretching and this and that. And same thing with practice. He's there 3 hours before a practice doing his routine. How's he going to do that flying back and forth every single day, right? Not to mention, who the hell wants to put their life on the line? I can't pick up a newspaper without seeing one of those helicopters crashing or twin-engine planes crashing because, the engine faulted or whatever. The last one we saw last week was the birds got into the wings. Last time I checked, there's still birds in the sky. I'm not getting on one of those helicopters every single day. What are you talking about? Tempting fate? No freaking way. Just live in Philadelphia. What's the big deal? Live in Jersey. How about living in Philadelphia, but then visiting New York City? That's how it's supposed to be. No one moves to New York City. They always visit New York City. New York City's a dump. You're not playing here. Why would you want to live here, for goodness sakes? So how's the Philadelphia set? This is Man, I want to buy in because I think they could be great. I really do. And I think they will be good this year. But it's already set up for failure. You know, when the Philadelphia 76ers, they hate New York. That's the rivalry. You know, it's Mets and Phillies. It's Flyers and Rangers, Eagles and Giants. You know, New York City, the Knicks and 76ers to a lesser extent. But that's the Philly-New York rivalry. They don't want to know that one of their players is living in New York, but he hates Philadelphia, which I'm sure they're going to ask him one of these days. And really going back and forth like that every single day. I will say, one of the guys on Twitter sent this out, and it's true. Man, the Eastern Conference is going to be loaded. It really is, as far as teams and players. Someone suggested, how they're going to come up with an all-star game, with only 12 roster spots for the Eastern Conference. And it'll be a problem if these guys stay healthy, right? Big if. So we have Giannis, Tatum, LeBron, Brunson, Kawhi, if that trade ever goes down, like I think it will to Toronto, Embiid, Donovan Mitchell, Anthony Towns, Cade Cunningham, Adebayo, Jaylen Brown, Tyrese Maxey, Halliburton is coming back from Indiana, right? Anunoby, Anthony Davis, and God forbid he should ever stay healthy, Paul George, Jalen Johnson, who's turning into a stud down in Atlanta. I mean, that's not even mentioning any of the Charlotte Hornet players that are kind of come into their own. I mean, it will be, if all these guys actually played, it will be tough. But that said, let's delete. Kawhi's never healthy. What are you kidding me? Anthony Davis, never healthy. What are you kidding me? Giannis isn't healthy anymore. Forget about it. LeBron, knowing that he's got to go back and forth, he's not going to be healthy. He's a hamstring phony injury just waiting to happen. He's not flying back and forth on a helicopter. Who's kidding who? He's not going to be healthy. Paul George, forget about it. He's either going to be back on the roids or drugs or whatever the fudge he was doing that made him fail the test this year. He's never healthy. So we're actually down to 1, 2, 3. Oh, Embiid, forget Embiid. Delete him. He's never healthy. So we're down, we started with 20, and we're down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 guys. So you got to whittle 2 out of that. Maybe you take off maybe Tyrese Maxey. You're not going to get Maxey and Brown. And so eliminate one of them. And you need some centers, so we'll keep Mobley there. Anunoby was a good player. He was great in the playoffs, no two ways about it. But is he really, an all-star? Probably not. So we'll eliminate him. That would be my 12. If I did a prediction, those would be the 12 when everything is said and done. So, but listen, Eastern Conference should be good. And I know our guy Rafi Tickets was all excited, and a lot of fans are for the NBA season. And if everything comes to fruition, it should be a great year. Every single game in the Eastern Conference is going to be loaded. I mean, there's not a matchup, right? That you could come up with. Milwaukee Bucks, maybe. Washington with all those new faces. Orlando's improving. Really, it's probably just the Bucks. Although they got a bunch of those, guys from Miami were halfway decent. Oh, the Brooklyn Nets. Yeah, the Nets suck. So outside of the Brooklyn Nets, I mean, whether it's New York and Detroit or Philadelphia or Cleveland, Boston and Washington, they're all on paper, they'll be great. But it's the NBA. And we all know the NBA. One thing to say it on paper, one thing to actually perform it on the court. And these guys all just kind of tank, and we get 131 to 135, basketball games. It'll be the same old story. It really will. So, all right, let's take a little break. I got to get some golf to get to. We have a WNBA All-Star game. Some interesting words from a white player about Clayton Clark. Crazy fireworks display, and give you out some winners. 6-2 with our picks last week. Not bad. A cha-ching. We'll take that. And Buffalo Tailgaters, Buffalo Bills Mafia. I think we've we've come up with Elliott Ness for you. You're not going to like the news that the Bills announced this weekend. That is for sure. So plenty to get to right here on the Scott Wetzel Show on FanStream Sports.
Hi, golfers. IndyCar Tim here. I want to talk to you a little bit about Golf Central Magazine. It's not just a golf magazine. It's the magazine for everything. Turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Head over to golfcentralmag.com and check out the latest issue. Some of the regular features in Golf Central Magazine: the Golf Bachelorette of the Month, the Golf Bachelor of the Month, the Golf Cart Girl of the Month, Golf History, Grip It and Sip It. So head over to golfcentralmag.com. It's free. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Golf Central Magazine at golfcentralmag.com. We'll see you there.
Hey, folks, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center, a very different kind of approach to primary care. Personalized preventative medicine, not a one-pill-fits-all mentality. Christopher Lugo and his experienced medical staff are proactive in looking at issues before they become a problem, encouraging a healthy lifestyle with proper diet, supplements, and exercise to optimize your active lifestyle. Rather than the impersonal, rushed approach, you will be the only patient and will have our full attention. That's new. Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. Bay Area Modern Medical Centers are experts in anti-aging regenerative medicine that optimizes your body's performance in many areas. So call for an appointment to get started on a journey back to full health and a happy life with a new, modern way of healthcare. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com.
Today's show is brought to you by Tomstown, a premier craft distillery based in Kansas City, Missouri. Discover their award-winning lineup, including double oaked bourbon, botanical gin, and double grain vodka, named the best craft vodka by the readers of USA Today. Available for online delivery in 40 states. Visit toms-town.com or their Kansas City distillery to explore more. Elevate your game with Tomstown, where history meets innovation. Please enjoy responsibly.
Hello, folks. Let's talk a little bit about turf life. What is turf life? It's pretty much if your life involves turf in any way, shape, or form, you live the turf life. Go ahead and brand yourself with the turf life. Maybe a back window decal, maybe a hat. You know where you can get those kinds of things to showcase that your life revolves around sports and or anything that involves sports. If it's a sports business or sports education or just your enjoyment of the outdoors, head over to turflifeclub.com. Become a turf head. Join the club today. You can do that by going to that said website that I just told you to go to. You can snag your window decal like I was talking about, or any of your other turf life accessories. Show everybody that you live the turf life, and we'll see you there over there at that turflifeclub.com.
Although it may seem tempting to go without health care insurance, the financial risk far outweighs the gain you may experience. For example, did you know if you simply broke your leg, it could cost you nearly $7,500? Put on top of that a hospital stay, you could be looking at $10,000 to $15,000. Ensuring that you don't go uncovered is so important, as according to CNBC, high medical bills are the highest contributing factor to why Americans end up taking money out of their retirement savings, or worse, find themselves filing bankruptcy. So go to don'tgouncovered.com or call 800-669-1505. Now, depending on your income, you can get plans for zero premium. Our experts will guide you through the process effortlessly. They will shop many plans and find the one that's right for you. I called and I have full health coverage through Florida Blue for zero monthly premium. It's a free call. So why go uncovered? It's a huge risk. Go to don'tgouncovered.com or call 800-669-1505. That's 800-669-1505.
Orion Golf Management Solutions. Orion Management Solutions has tailored its service packages just like it tailors its approach to customers. Some owners need more supervision, while others need periodic assessment of their short-term and long-term strategies and programs. Orion can be called in to develop a business plan with the existing staff, or we can assist with the daily management of a facility or event. Either way, we make sure the client is satisfied and understands the direction the facility needs to go in order to achieve the owner's goals. Orion Management Solutions can help with owner assistance service solutions, daily course management, business plan development, monthly operations, or as-needed consulting services. Whatever your need, Orion Golf Management Solutions can help. Check out oriongolf.com.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back. It is, we need a little sound buffer there, Timmy. It is the Scott Wetzel Show right here on FanStream Sports. Go to the website, fanstreamsports.com. Hit the Scott Wetzel icon on the show, and then all the other shows you want to listen back. Some of the shows we did last week and early this month, they are all there. So a couple things here to get to. First up, WNBA All-Star Game, hour number 2, by the way, of our hour and a half extravaganza. Talk a little NFL early. Got some more NFL notes to get to, some baseball picks as well this hour, and a little golf and a little WNBA, which is where we will begin. All-Star Game this weekend. Someone put a clip together on Twitter/X of all the misses that the players were making. It is amazing, man. There's really no middle ground. It's like rooting for the Yankees or the Dallas Cowboys. You're New England Patriots, maybe. You either root for them or you hate them. Dookie Pukies, right? That's how the WNBA is becoming. There's no okay, yeah, WNBA, okay, we appreciate that. With all this, the referees suck, the head coaches are stupid, the Caitlin Clark stuff, it's either you like it or you don't. And the people that don't will fire away everything possible to show why they don't like it, including this little clip from Paige Beckers, who, well, I'll let you listen to it. It's actually not the end of the world, but I play it just to let you see really how I think most WNBA players feel about Caitlin Clark for whatever reason. And a lot of people think it's a black-white issue, and I've always said I don't think it is. I really don't. It could play a little role. It's more of a jealousy issue for some stupid reason. I don't know why. But here's even Paige Beckers, who I thought she got along with. Talking about Caitlin Clark when she first came into the league.
And then it just felt like women's basketball just took the world by storm. And
when Clark entered the league.
Mm-hmm. Rightfully so. So I'm not, and I felt bad because I felt like jealous in a way, and I felt like envious. And I've never been that type of person where I don't want other people to succeed. Like I want everyone around me to succeed like more than I want myself to succeed. Like I just want great for people. I want, like, I've always thought like
great
showing light on others doesn't diminish your own. Like I feel like iron sharpens iron, and I just feel like really happy for people who are succeeding because I know how hard it is to be at this level and how much work it takes and how much resilience and dedication and sacrifice.
Iron sharpens iron. All right. Play the beginning again real quickly. She's talking about
and then
Clark.
It just felt like women's basketball just took the world by storm, and
that, but
rightfully so. So I'm not, and I felt bad because I felt like jealous in a way, and I felt like envious, and I've never been that type of person.
So she felt jealous and envious. That's it. Those are the two words that just resonates when you talk about Caitlin Clark, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, right? And this debate will linger and it'll continue. Jealous and envious. Why? Again, this is from a white player, right? But that's the prevailing thinking for some reason. Among these women are just jealous. Don't they see? I remember when Michael was playing and LeBron was playing, nobody, or Kobe, Shaq, whoever it was, right? Nobody was jealous of them. Nobody was, envious because they're so good. But she's not envious because Caitlin Clark is so good. She's envious because of all the attention she's getting. Nobody thought that way against Michael. Nobody even thought that way against dopey LeBron. Did they have to prove themselves a couple of years before people accepted, like, yeah, you know what, the dude's good. Skipped high school, or skipped college, LeBron, but you know what, the guy is good. Michael, comes in, big fanfare, number 3 overall pick. A lot of hype, but they proved he was good. There was never any jealousy or envious of them. They accepted them. They realized that those guys brought more attention, more eyeballs to the league, and which meant more money. But the women aren't like that. The women are just, you hate to say it, that they're all bitchs, right? Even amongst themselves. That they're all jealous of each other. You're making 3 times to 5 times literally more money than what you would be making. And they just can't accept that. And it's not like she's a bitch. Caitlin Clark, I've never heard anyone say that. She seems like she's a nice person. On the court, she can be a little feisty or whatever, but, that comes with the territory. So it's not like she's a mean person. She's not a Dennis Rodman, like, oh, this guy's a dope or something. So what is it that you don't like about her? She's bringing eyeballs to the league. She's putting more money in your pocket. She's not winning championships, so you don't even have to say like you're jealous of her success. They're just jealous of her. It's not a good look for women. It really, and I like the WNBA. I follow it. I got 2 daughters that play sports, but it's not a good look for women. It really isn't. I don't know if that'll ever get through their thick heads. But they should be embracing her, as we've all been saying. Even if you don't want to, you should still be embracing her just because it's making the league better. Man, it's crazy. Really is dopey. So, but that was just another example. We could do this story. That and LeBron we could do every single day for the next 3 months, right? 3M Open Championship this weekend. Some dude, Jackson Coyven, 3 months or so out of college, out of Auburn, wins the championship. Shoots, 27, I think it was, under par. Really 2 storylines to this. One, the kid's fresh out of college, and he shoots 27 under, and he wins by 3 shots. Nice job, right? That's pretty darn good. So another new face. Golf has plenty of them. Some better at DraftKings. DraftKings been pumping these things out for whatever reason. And again, I wonder about some of this stuff. But supposedly some guy put $108.18 on Coyven to win the championship at 37-1. That paid him $4,002.66. So initially it'd be like, well, why are you doing $108,818, right? Well, because he wanted $4 million. But why wouldn't he just put $4 million in there? Because why would it be $4 million and 2.66 cents? So that's kind of weird. Why would you do that? Because you could bet, for those that don't bet, you could bet on how much you want to win, and then you could bet on how much you want to risk. So this bettor no doubt put in how much he wanted to win, but why would he put $4,002.66? Why not just $4 million? So it already has red flags. Is this true? I've told you about some of these other ones where, a guy puts $1,000, on a golfer at 37-1 and he wins. And I tell you, yeah, he probably picked about 20 guys. He's probably a big time gambler and risked $20,000 and picked 20 guys all at 30-1, hoping that one of these, darts actually hits. Now, I don't think there's a guy that would bet $108,000, 10 or 20 times. So I really question this one. I mean, someone's betting 100. First of all, I don't even know if DraftKings would take that bet, in all honesty, right? Some of these I would they won't take it. So I have a hard time believing. The DraftKings, or I think covers.com, pretty notable site, spit this out. So I don't know. I got to see the ticket to believe this. But anyway, if it's true, the bettor won $4 million, which is a hell of a lot more than what Coyven won, which was 1.58. So, but that's just gambling, right? And then the other story is Scottie Scheffler came up short again. I mean, it's not the end of the world, and this is just, it's getting to the point now where it's not fluky. It is what it is. It's Scottie. He came up 3 shots short, 25 under par. Coyven was. And Scheffler finished 22 under par. Second place. By all likelihood, no qualms about that. What's the complaint about, Scott? Well, the guy's been coming in second and third place every single week. Every single week, we say the same thing. It's either one shot, one hole, or one round that just kills him. And this week, it was round number 2 when he shot a 70. To put that into perspective, the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll go 9. We'll keep it at 8. The top 8 guys times 4, 32 rounds. You know how many guys shot a 70 out of 32 rounds that finished in the top 8? One other guy. Hideki Matsuyama. Shot at opening round 70. Everybody else, and we're talking about the who's who of nobodies. Jackson Cleveland, who the fudge ever heard of him, right? Scottie Scheffler, Matsuyama, Brian Harmon, he's pretty good. Denny McCarthy, Chandler Phillips, who the fudge is that? Davis Thompson, and that's a paint, isn't it? Emilio Grillo, we've heard of him. Those are the top 8 guys. Only Matsuyama's 70 in round 1 was 70 or higher. All the other rounds, 30 other rounds were 69 or less. And then there's Scottie Scheffler with a 70 in round 2. I mean, you can't do it. And it's the same thing every single week with this dude. And it's the same, heads into the final round, puts himself within striking distance in the 3rd round, comes close in the final round, never has the lead, puts pressure on the guy. And I tell you, if you would have told me after Saturday that Scotty would have shot a 7 under or 8 under rather yesterday and finish up at 22 under par, I would have said he won, because we didn't think we were doing the show on Saturday, being Brady Cannon on the Sports Grid. And we were talking about Koivu, who's never been here, obviously, and all the pressure. And you see Scotty on the scoreboard, and you're going to wilt and this and that. And he shot a 61, did Koivu Saturday, so you knew he was due for regression. And the kid shot a 5 under yesterday, 66. Not bad. Give him a lot of credit. So he ended up winning by 3 shots, and Scotty comes up short again. I mean, I would not bet him. I don't care what the odds are. I don't know if he's playing in the next tournament. Let me go to FanDuel and see. Well, I don't even know what the next tournament is, but that's okay. Let's see if Scotty's in it. I bet if he is, the odds might not be out for it. Yeah, we got it. Rocket Classic. So Scottie Scheffler is not playing in it. Yeah. Otherwise, he'd be at the top. So, Cameron Young at 12-1 is your odds-on favorite. But next time he plays, the odds are slowly but surely creeping up there. He's right around, 6-5, 6-1 now, where he used to be in the 2s, maybe 3s, but not anymore. Now they're finally realizing the guy's just not winning. I wouldn't bet him. Or if I bet him, I would wait for his screw-up round, get much, much, much bigger odds, and then bet him after that. But I wouldn't bet him for the start of the tournament. I'll tell you that. It's just it's not happening. And then we had the Lucas Glover thing. Did you see this? Kind of weird. I don't know the complete background of it, but here's Lucas Glover, right? Good golfer. He's putting, and then watch what he does after his putt. Oops, hold on a second. I think there we go.
For birdie. Yeah, it looks like nothing unusual here until watch what Lucas does here, Damon. I'll give you the backstory to why this happened. Lucas Glover has been extremely outspoken about his dislike for aim point and how close the players are getting to the hole while they're using this aim point and aim point express. And I guess it just boiled over. Lucas has had enough. He's shoes off, and he's making a point right there. And I, for one, totally agree with him. I don't agree with.
I don't agree with that at all. What the announcer say? So he's upset people are walking in his line. It's the golf course, right? I mean, you get too anal, golfers. You're getting way too anal. Whether it's last week, with the Shambo, supposedly stomping down on the grass. Like, where the hell was he supposed to walk? He's got to walk to the ball. He's got to look behind the ball. He was stomping his feet. Yeah, because the grasses are 2 feet high. You can't walk normally. And now you get a guy that's worried about someone walking in front of his ball. Come on. If you wear golf shoes, they don't make any you're not making a divot, for goodness sakes. It's a normal just walk. And then, so it's no big deal. It really isn't. But some of these guys are just getting like way too anal. I think it's just too much attention or I don't know what. It really is just like too much pressure. Taking the shoes off in front of the other golfer. I guess he was pissed at the other golfer. The other golfer must have walked in front of his ball. I don't know. Crazy. Buffalo Bills fans, you're not going to like this. Tailgate rules. They have a new stadium. And don't ask why. And I live in New York, and New York has paid for a good portion of the new Buffalo Bills stadium. So they made the stadium with 11,000 or so less seats than the old Rich Stadium, as we'll call it. Yeah, that's a lot less people in a state. Why would they do that? I don't know. I mean, how much more could it cost to just make it the normal seating, right? But anyway, I guess a lot of people go to these games that really don't have tickets and just go to tailgate, Bills Mafia, which is big, all around the NFL, right? So they put new rules out. New Buffalo Bill tailgating rules. No food or drinks to be able to be sold in the parking lots, which I guess people were selling hot dogs and hamburgers to people that didn't bring a grill. All right. I don't know if I would necessarily trust that, but okay. No tailgating after kickoff. Goes back to, well, we're here just for the tailgate. Well, no. What are they going to do, though, with some of these rules? I'll get to that in a second, but I'll just give the rules. So no tailgating after kickoff. Got to shut those grills down, guys. No drinking, no hanging around the parking lot. That's it. Kicked off, boom, shut it down. Otherwise, we kick you out. We'll arrest you. Only food and beverages for your family. Not even sharing. So forget about selling. You can't even give, technically, food to somebody or a drink, a beer to somebody. Good luck with that. You're limited to your parking space, 9 by 10, which, okay, that's how most are. If you've ever been to a football tailgate, you park your car and then the back end of your car is your space to set up your grill and stuff like that. This wouldn't work over at the 3-letter network, I'll tell you that. Music with clean lyrics, not loud. What does that mean? No F-bombs? How about no rap music then? Because the rap guys, they're using the N-bombs and the B-bombs and every other bomb you can come up with just 5 times a second. So no more rap music at Buffalo Bill tailgating parties. That's it. Unless you want to have the N-word blasted out loud. And it can't be loud. They said only one of those individual speakers now. Grills have to be 6 inches off the ground. Okay. No tents, which really, that's a little weird. People put up those tents in the back, like you have in your backyard, to block the sun and stuff like that. And no bottles, which that I understand. You don't want glass breaking, right? Now, the question is, as I said before, how are you going to, police this stuff? I mean, are you really going to have people walking around saying, listen, I saw you give that guy a hamburger, you're under arrest, or we're going to take your ticket away, or we're going to kick you out? I mean, you're just setting yourself up for failure here. Only food, like I said, for family members. The music, that I guess you could walk around and just say, listen, dude, that's too loud. Sorry, you got to turn it down. You got to turn the Jay-Z off. We're using the N-word, the B-word too many times. Can't have it. No tailgating after kickoff too. What are you going to do? Force them to leave? I mean, I would say if you don't have a ticket, you got to show a ticket to the game to get into the tailgating. That I could see. But if you don't want to go into the game, that's on you, right? You want to bury your ticket? But I think they're afraid of people going there. Maybe scalping the tickets. Maybe that's it. They don't want scalpers either. But that would be a little, what are you going to physically remove them? You got to call the cops? The no tents. I don't quite get, I get the other ones. I don't get why no tents. That's a little weird. No bottles, I get. Grills off the ground, I get. And no selling food. I guess I understand. But good luck on that, right? Good luck on that. That has got disaster. That would be the end of Bills Mafia. Why maybe they just have to legally put these out, but realistically, that's not happening. I wouldn't be going to any. We'll do Robert Kraft here. I do enjoy. I'm fascinated with all these mysteries and Loch Ness monsters and Bigfoot and who was the girl from Colorado, the cute little girl who died? What was her name? You know what I'm talking about. This is 25 years ago. The O.J. Simpson stuff. the mountain climbers in Russia, 50 years, 60 years ago. I'm fascinated by all these goofy, weird things, right? And one of them is Aaron Hernandez, because he was such a great football player. So for whatever reason, I think when you hit one or two of these icons on your Twitter, you get fed more of these things. Here's owner, it's interesting here. Here's owner Robert Kraft talking about how he just got completely fooled by Aaron Hernandez.
Down immediately, and I said, Aaron, tell me, did you do this? Because if you did, I know you must have had some good reason. I'm going to get you the best defense lawyer we can get, and I'll do it at my cost. And he looked me right in the eye, not blinking anything, and said, Mr. Kraft, I didn't do that. I was in Rhode Island or something. And when he said it, I believed him. He actually changed my life and how I look at people, because it just, to this day, I can't believe I got snookered like that.
Yeah. How about that, huh? He was as a cold-blooded killer, Aaron Hernandez, as you could come up with. Just lying. I know what he's talking about there. Like when you really want to believe somebody and you're trying to lay it out, like, whatever it is. If you did it, okay, we'll get you the best lawyer. There's got to be a good reason, just tell me the truth and this and that. And sound like he just cold-bloodedly said, no, I wasn't even there. Wasn't even there. And then we all know, obviously, he did it. So kind of weird. Definitely kind of weird. Did you see this little video on Twitter this weekend? So minor league stadium in Richmond, Virginia. A lot happened in Virginia. That's where the shooting was. So they wanted to do a post-game fireworks. Not exactly sure why this weekend, since July 4th was a couple of weekends. And, things didn't go quite as planned. They're going off sideways into the stands. Look at the dopey people who are sitting there waiting to get hit in the chest with a firework. Some are going up. That's not too bad. But the beginning ones were all going sideways. I mean, holy fuck. And then these dopey people are just sitting there, just waiting to get hit in the head with a firework. That's another thing I don't do. I don't mess around with fireworks. I'm pretty conservative when you really, I wasn't necessarily always conservative when I was younger, but you get a little older. Like, I've seen too many stupid things happen. I used to work at an amusement park called Action Park in New Jersey. If you're from that area, you know where it is, right? And you know what it's about. I've seen people die, literally die, get electrocuted. They had a water ride where you got into like a kayak, not like a kayak, right? And the kayak fell over, wires were exposed, people got electrocuted. They had a secret road in the back where the ambulance would come, because they didn't want to bring the ambulance in the front where everyone would see the ambulance, right? So they would always bring the people down. It was divided by a road, right? And the cars, if you will, were on the lower section, right? And that's where the portion was where the ambulance would come. And all these people dying. They found someone dead in the wave pool at the end of the day. The water was so dirty. So I've seen it. I've lived it. I know what can happen. So, yeah, just crazy. So anyway, these mopes are sitting there with the fireworks flying at them. Man. Baseball this weekend, not bad. Red Sox take 2 out of 3 against Toronto, which was key, winning yesterday. Didn't want to get into a little bit of a slide there. They lost the last game against Baltimore, split the first 2. So didn't want to see them lose 3 out of 4. So they ended up taking 2 out of 3. So they're back on the grind. They head out to Sacramento. They got a 4-game series starting tonight against the A's. Make a little trade over the weekend as well. Not one that I'm thrilled about, but okay, it is what it is. We had too many left-handed pitchers, so somebody had to go, and we needed a right-handed bat. So it actually, it did make sense. I'm just not happy about Early being traded, because he's a pretty good pitcher, I say. So last week we ended up going 6-2 with our plays, and then when we get into football season, we'll spend a lot more time, on the college football and NFL picks, right? Baseball, I don't know how many people actually bet baseball, WNBA. But there are a couple plays today. So 6-2 last week. Cha-ching, cha-ching. Battle of systems here. You got the Miami Marlins that have lost 12 in a row, like we talked about earlier. They're hosting the Philadelphia Phillies. Phillies played late last night, though, in Philadelphia. And they got to fly all the way down to Miami. I'm guessing, I don't know what time that game ended, but it was still going on at 11 o'clock. It was a late game. A lot of runs being scored, Yanks and Phillies. So I'm guessing they probably didn't get down to Miami until 5, 6 o'clock this morning. They do have Zach Wheeler, though, on the hill, and the Marlins have lost 12 in a row. So pick your system, anti-road trip Sunday night baseball or winners bet with streaks, losers bet against streaks. I like the Phillies. I'll lay a run and a half. I won't lay minus 193 with Wheeler on the hill. This Marlins team is just, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, but they're so bad. You have the Yankees in a similar spot, same spot, really. In Philadelphia late, they got to fly all the way to Chicago. Same thing. They probably didn't get in until 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, probably. They do have Max Fried on the hill, but that's okay. I'll take a flyer on the White Sox at plus 123. And we do have Max Scherzer on the mound for the Toronto Blue Jays as he returns from back and thumb injury. Hasn't pitched in a while. He's done. 1-4 this season. ERA over 10. He's pitched one time in June, and otherwise it's been shut down since April. Nationals are a great hitting team. They got the most runs. They got the I don't know if it's the most. Let me just double check. But they are the number one over team in baseball. They've scored 584 runs. I think that is number one. Yep. Number one, how many people would have said that at the beginning of the year, right? At the beginning of the year, if I gave you who scored the most runs as of July 26th, and if I gave you 15 guesses, half the teams in Major League Baseball, I still don't think you'd probably take Washington. I know I would. I thought Washington was going to win like 65 games this year. So, but no, they can actually hit. Their lineup is as good as anybody's. They're a monster over team, and now they're facing Max Scherzer. So I like Washington tonight. I would definitely take the Nationals. So Nationals, Phillies laying a run and a half, and then the White Sox, little hunch play on them, plus 125 against the Stags. And we'll just root on our Red Sox from the sideline there. Anything else that going on? Let me see. Baseball-wise, nothing else. No, I think that's basically it. LeBron, 76ers welcome LeBron. We talked about that. Commanders fired the tight end coach. We talked about that. Yeah, nothing really crazy. So let's go back to the board here and see what some comments we have. Our good buddy Tim writing in. WNBA's All-Star Game would have made a casual fan a fan no more. And for the first time, watchers would have left and never watched another game. Yeah, it wasn't a thing of beauty, that All-Star Game. It really, and talk about a monster move. That over-under was 276.5, and about an hour before tip-off, it dropped to 272.5. And lo and behold, didn't even come close. The nutcase is back. That doesn't mean Scheffler is going to go the route of Koepka or Spieth. Scheffler did have 3/4 top tens this year in the majors. Yeah, I know that. You know what? But he's not winning though. He's coming. I'd much rather have him finish in 15th place, 20th place, because then there's something wrong. I don't think there's something wrong. I just don't think he's that good. I just think last year, 2 years ago, was just the anomaly. Now he's just a decent player, but no better than anybody else. As simple as that. He also writes in, I think you're reaching a bit there with Scottie. It's not like he's dropped off the face of the earth. He did win 2 majors last year. Yeah, last year. I'm talking this year. That's the difference. And Ramsey. What was her first name, Tim? The girl from Colorado there. What was the first name of her that got killed? I think they eventually did find the murder. I don't know if he ever, they proved it in court, but they had an idea who did it. What was their name? I keep almost saying Jalen Ramsey, the football player, but no, cute little girl. So anyway, we'll leave you with this. We always leave you with something that we want you to come back with, right? So I'm not the big Jonette. Ramsey. That was it. John Benet Ramsey. John Benet, not Gene. He wrote Gene. No, it's It's not Gene. It was John Bonet. So we leave you with something. I again, working at Action Park, never was a huge, rides guy. When I was younger, not too bad, but I hit my 20s, and that's like I see all these accidents and stuff. Nah, not for me, right? So I know some people that just love this stuff. My kids like it, but I don't know if they would be even willing to do this. Take a look at this. That's a roller coaster heading out on this ledge, as you see. It sits there for like 10 seconds. Imagine being in the front car, or the front 2 or 3 cars, and you're just on this ledge, and then all of a sudden, and then it just sits there, right? Whoa. I don't mind the ride down, but no, right, Tim? Well,
no, thank you.
No, thank you.
No,
thank you. You couldn't pay me enough to no. I've seen too many accidents and things. And I was telling Tim, right, Tim, before the show began, they should put like sounds of metal, crunching, like pretending that the thing is falling apart. That would really, imagine that. That would really freak these people out, right? No, I will say the ones I did go on with my kids, if you close your eyes, it is 10 times easier. 10, because you take all the visual aspects of it. You just close your eyes and just, okay, let's get this thing over with. And it's actually not that bad if you close your eyes on some of these things. But some of these rides, man, we went out to Disney World. We've been there a few years, and there's one ride where you kind of in a car. I went with my son a couple of times, and man, if you don't hold on like that, you're pretty much buckled in. But some of these, there was one there we were going around in circles and in different things, like inside a building, I guess it was, right? And man, if you didn't hold on, you were going to fall out. No two ways about it. You were buckled in, but no, you really weren't buckled in that much. So you can't count on some of these rides being, okay, I know I'm safe. No. Having that thing flip down like that. Imagine being in the front run, right? The one, 2, or 3 there. And just like not knowing, you're just looking into space. And then, like I said, if there was a sound effect of metal crunching, that would really be kind of weird. So I bet they charge about $30 to get on that ride. And I bet they probably get it too. Some of these amusement rides are just like so crazy expensive. So anyway, good job by the emailer. I didn't check the emailer, Scott. So hold on a second. Well, let me check. Every once in a while, we'll get an email. No new emails. Let me check the Twitter. Anything new on Twitter? I don't think so. That I did check. Some things on Paige Becker, retweeting that stuff out. Followed by Sports Mecca. You want to follow us on Twitter at Opposite Picks. At Sports Mecca is new to our home. So Sports Mecca, welcome aboard. If you guys want to follow me, I'll give you a mention. No problem. I'd love to have more people on board. Don't forget, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and you get some of the future shows, some of the previous shows. Go to fanstreamsports.com, fanstreamsports.com. So that'll do it for us. Good job. No show tomorrow. Got to go to a funeral. My wife's uncle passed away, so I'll be back Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week for sure. So enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Let's go White Sox. Let's go Phillies. And then let's go who's the other one? Phillies, White Sox, and the third one, whoever it was. I told you earlier. So let's hold on a second. I'll get it for you. It was White Sox. It was Nationals and Nationals. Laid $125 against Scherzer. Absolutely. So hopefully we go 3 for 3, and we'll talk to you on Wednesday, folks.